Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. A millionaire invited a black maid as a joke. She arrived like a diva and everyone was speechless. In the bustling, thriving city of Chicago, where skyscrapers pierce the sky and ambitions collide in the gilded corridors of big business, lived Edward Grant. At 52, Edward was the epitome of American success. The founder of a thriving tech company, he had built his empire through hard work, audacity, and a certain contempt for those he considered beneath him. His lifestyle reflected his wealth, extravagant and ostentatious. Luxury cars, custom-made clothes, lavish parties in his penthouse with a panoramic view of Lake Michigan. But beneath this apparent luxury lay a legendary arrogance, a self-confidence that sometimes bordered on arrogance. Edward enjoyed playing with the power his position conferred on him, and his often heavy-handed jokes, tinged with biting irony, made his guests both amused and uncomfortable. Few dared to stand up to him. A few miles away, in an affluent residential neighborhood of Lincoln Park, lived Lisa Jefferson. A humble, discreet woman, but possessing an unwavering inner strength, Lisa was 38 years old. She was a single mother of 2 children, raising them alone with courage and determination. Her days were punctuated by physical, repetitive labor, but she had never lost her dreams or her quiet ambition. For nearly 10 years, she had worked as a housekeeper for several wealthy families in the neighborhood, knowing every hallway, every piece of furniture, every secret of these homes. For the past 3 years, she had been employed by the Grants, maintaining their luxurious downtown apartment, often going unnoticed despite her regular presence. One evening, at one of his famous social gatherings, Edward, surrounded by his closest friends, floated an idea he considered a harmless game, and, more importantly, a good way to entertain his guests, inviting Lisa to the party. Not out of any real desire to get to know her or honor her, but as a dramatic twist, a way to poke fun at his inner circle. He wanted to observe his guests' reactions, to see how they would treat this simple housekeeper in a setting where luxury and appearance dominated. A social experiment, in his eyes, a joke at the expense of a woman he had always seen as inferior. His assistant, uncomfortable but accustomed to carrying out orders without discussion, sent Lisa an invitation in a deliberately sarcastic tone. "You are invited to an exclusive party this Saturday evening at Mr. Grant's house. Formal attire required." When Lisa received this message, she was at first surprised, then confused. Was it a mistake? A bad joke? She talked about it with her friends, who were skeptical. But the more she thought about it, the more an idea began to form in her mind. What if this was an opportunity, a chance to show that she wasn't just a cleaning lady, but a whole, worthy, strong woman? So she decided to go, not to please anyone, but for herself. To prove to herself that she could stand up to this closed world, this world of privilege where she had always been invisible. She had nothing to lose, but a lot to show. On Saturday morning, Lisa woke earlier than usual, a slight nervousness mixed with a newfound determination floating through her mind. The entire day would be devoted to meticulous preparation. This was no ordinary evening, and she knew it. She wanted to present herself differently, without the heavy etiquette that had accompanied her for years. She took exceptional care in choosing her outfit. After hours of searching, she found a ruby red dress in a high-end clothing rental shop, a fitted gown that elegantly hugged her curves, a true showcase that highlighted her figure and aura. This vibrant, deep red seemed to reflect her inner strength, her courage, and her newfound pride. Next, she bought a pair of classic black heels, not too high, but elegant enough to complete her look. She called on a professional hairstylist, a longtime friend, to tame her natural hair into a sophisticated, soft, and graceful shape. Then came the makeup, done subtly, a luminous complexion, eyes lightly outlined with a thin line of eyeliner, and a touch of lipstick that didn't shout, but asserted its presence. For the first time in a long time, Lisa looked in the mirror and saw herself not as a cleaning lady, but as a dignified, beautiful, powerful woman. Heart-pounding, she hopped into a taxi and headed downtown. When the car pulled up in front of Edward's towering skyscraper, a modern tower with glittering windows that reflected the setting sun, Lisa felt a mixture of excitement and calm. She stepped out of the taxi and walked to the entrance, where the uniformed doorman, accustomed to greeting the city's elite, looked her up and down with disbelief. Lisa remained unperturbed, took the neatly folded invitation from her bag, and held it out with a confident gesture. The doorman examined the invitation, frowned, then opened the door with slight hesitation. Once inside the lobby, the sumptuous decor engulfed her: polished marble, sparkling chandeliers, modern artwork on the walls. But what struck her most were the stares of the guests already there. They whispered, exchanging furtive glances, envious or incredulous murmurs. "Is this the cleaning lady?" a high-pitched voice asked. "What is she doing here?" another whispered. "Is this a joke?" someone said mockingly. Lisa heard everything, but she didn't let it show. Every step she took echoed in the immaculate hall, and she moved forward with quiet confidence, without looking back, without justifying her presence. She wasn't there to make excuses or defend herself. She was there. Period. From his spacious and elegant living room, tastefully decorated with brightly colored modern artwork, Edward Grant watched Lisa's entrance with a mixture of curiosity and condescension. He had already prepared himself for a display of awkwardness, imagining that she would lose herself in this world of luxury, that her simple manners and lack of social experience would betray her. For him, this was just another diversion to add to his evening. When Lisa walked through the living room door, wearing her dazzling ruby-red gown, she exuded an aura of calm and dignity that stood out against the stifled laughter and skeptical stares of the guests. Her upright posture, her serene smile, everything about her screamed confidence and authenticity. She approached Edward with impeccable politeness, a slight nod of her head in greeting. Edward responded with a forced grimace, mixed with a surprise he didn't want to admit yet. The guests, for their part, gradually fell silent, drawn in spite of themselves by this unexpected presence. They began to examine Lisa with genuine curiosity. She was no longer the simple, cleaning lady they had mocked from a distance, but a woman telling a story of struggle, hope, and determination. Lisa spoke plainly, her voice soft but firm. She spoke of her nights spent studying late after long workdays, her desire to give her children a better life, and the sacrifices she made every day. She spoke of her dreams, her hidden ambitions, and the inner strength that had allowed her to continue despite obstacles. Each word seemed to strike a chord in the audience. The mocking laughter slowly died away, replaced by a deep, respectful, almost admiring silence. Some guests lowered their eyes, embarrassed at having judged too quickly. Others exchanged knowing glances, as if they had just discovered a truth they had been unaware of. Edward, for his part, felt his heart clench. This woman he had despised had just offered him a lesson in humility, a stark reminder that true greatness was not measured by wealth or social status, but by resilience and human dignity. As the hours passed, music, conversation, and laughter mingled in the large, dimly lit living room. But beyond the tumult, something deeper was unfolding in Edward Grant's mind. His arrogance, the hard shell he had worn for so long, was slowly beginning to crack. He looked at Lisa, who was no longer simply the cleaning lady he knew. She had become, in his eyes, a quiet strength, an embodiment of dignity and resilience. Every word she spoke, every glance he cast upon her, testified to a rare authenticity. Edward's eyes filled with a strange emotion, a mixture of admiration and regret. He realized then that he had been blinded by his prejudices, that he had judged Lisa without ever truly knowing her. He had ignored the richness of her life, the depth of her soul, the greatness of her courage. As the evening drew to a close, Edward felt he could no longer remain silent. Moving away from the group, he slowly approached Lisa, his head slightly bowed, as if to contain a weight he had been carrying for too long. In a low, almost vulnerable voice, he said to her, "Lisa, tonight you taught me a lesson I will never forget. I am deeply sorry for anything I thought, said, or did that hurt you." Lisa looked at him gently, her smile calm and full of wisdom. She replied simply, "Mr. Grant, each of us has a place in this world. The important thing is to believe in it, to never doubt its worth." Those words, filled with quiet strength, resonated in Edward's heart like a call to change, to become better. That evening, within those luxurious walls, a transformation had taken place, not only in their relationship, but in their very perception of what true human greatness means. A few weeks had passed since that memorable evening. Edward Grant's daily life had changed somewhat, although his habits as a demanding leader remained intact. Yet, in a corner of his mind, a new idea was brewing, fueled by the encounter with Lisa and what she had revealed to him about the reality of so many families forgotten by the system. One sunny morning, Edward invited Lisa to join him in his office, a vast space bathed in natural light and decorated with sobriety and refinement. He wanted to talk to her about a project he had been thinking about for a long time, but had never dared to fully realize. "Lisa," he began with a newfound sincerity, "I ignored certain realities for a long time. But your story, your strength, opened my eyes. I decided to launch an initiative to help disadvantaged families in Chicago, those who, like yours, fight every day to offer a better future to their children." He continued. "I want you to be by my side, not as a guest, but as an advisor. You know this community better than anyone. You can guide us, help us create programs that truly meet people's needs." Lisa, moved and honored, happily accepted. She saw this as a unique opportunity to transform her own experience into a force for change for others. Together, they worked tirelessly, mobilizing resources, contacts, and expertise. They established an association dedicated to the education and independence of disadvantaged families. The association offered scholarships for bright but disadvantaged young people, vocational training for adults seeking new skills, and special support for single parents to enable them to balance work and family life. Lisa was fully involved, walking through the neighborhoods, meeting with families, listening to their stories, their hopes, and their needs. Her presence embodied hope and dignity. Little by little, the cleaning lady turned counselor became a respected and admired figure in her neighborhood. She was an inspiration to many, living proof that change was possible when you believed in yourself and the strength of your community. His journey now served as a model, and his deep commitment reminded everyone that everyone, regardless of their starting point, could contribute to building a better future. What had begun as a cruel joke, a game of arrogance and contempt, had gradually evolved into a profound lesson in humility and respect. The evening, initially intended as a farce, had triggered an inner transformation in Edward Grant, a man once impervious to realities unlike himself. He had understood, sometimes painfully, that true greatness was not measured by numbers in a bank account, nor by prestigious titles, nor by material possessions. No, true greatness resides in human dignity, in that quiet courage that pushes one to rise again despite difficulties, in the kindness that offers itself without expecting anything in return. Edward had learned to see beyond appearances and prejudices. He had discovered the richness of invisible stories, those of people like Lisa, who every day, with perseverance and heart, built a better world in their own way. For her part, Lisa had demonstrated that true beauty was more than just outward appearances. She shone in her self-confidence, in her ability to never give up, despite obstacles. Her strength lay in her integrity, her courage to be her full self, and her determination to forge a path of hope. This journey, from simple cleaning lady to respected advisor, embodied the power of perseverance, but also that of a new perspective on others. Beyond differences of class, origin, or status, it is shared humanity that creates bridges, that builds solid bridges between hearts. Edward and Lisa's story thus became a living testimony, a reminder that everyone deserves to be seen, heard, and respected. That each person carries within them a unique light, which sometimes only takes a single encounter to reveal. And in the streets of Chicago, in the schools supported by their association, in the eyes of children who found hope, this lesson of humility and respect continued to make its way, to sow the seeds of a fairer and more humane future.